Hey everyone, in this video I want to show you beginning in how to make these super adorable leg warmers for small babies and newborns. Now as you can see, I didn't have an actual model, so I'm actually using my daughter's Baby Alive Sarah doll, the one that eats the Play-Doh. Just kind of like to give you an idea what these look like. Now I want to talk about the fiber I'm using. I'm using alpaca. Now this is a 100% alpaca. Now the difference between alpaca and sheep's wool is alpaca is warmer, it's not prickly, and it has no lanolin, so it's actually hypoallergenic. It's also naturally water repellent and difficult to ignite. So I figured for little tiny babies, it's a hypoallergenic fiber to use. It's very, very soft. Of course, you do want to hand wash it. The loom I'm using, I'm going to do this so I don't knock my things off, is the 1/4 gauge. Ooh, I believe Cindy Wood is calling it the baby sock loom. I'll double check and I'll correct it. I think it has 30 pegs on it, and I'm using just rubber bands to mark my pegs. I use a ruler to measure the length of them in my loom tool. So let me take one of these off and kind of show you what it looks like. And as you can see, it has cables, which we're doing a 2-stitch cable with a left twist, just really simple. And you have just some regular E-wrap rows. So it's knit, purl. Let's get started. First of all, my yarn I got in a hank, which I'll show you. This isn't the same yarn, but this is what a hank is. A lot of your pricier, especially like full fiber, not full fiber, a lot of your more expensive yarn with your alpacas and your wools and stuff like that, a lot of times will come like that. If you get it like that, I do suggest purchasing a Swift and a spool winder. They are not necessary. You can actually take and wind them into a ball if you would like. But with the spool winder, I have a nice center pull and it will sit there, and it works really, really great that way. To mark your loom, I just used 6 of the little tiny rubber bands. You can get them in packs of like 100 at Dollar Tree for $1. I used 2 different colors to mark out 2 different stitches. And what I did is I just put it around 2 pegs at once, because if I put it around 1, the pegs are so small, I can just easily fit them around 2, because these 2 pegs I will E-wrap, and then these 3 I will purl. These 2 will be E-wrapped. These 3 will be purl. E-wrap, purled. So you do that. You mark 2, skip 3, mark 2, all the way around your loom. Now to do your cast on, you want to take and do a slip knot, which if I did that too fast for you, I have separate videos I'll kind of go over it a little better. But we're doing a chain cast on. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can... To do the cast on, let me zoom this out for a moment. You have the yarn coming from your spool. We're doing a chain cast on, which I don't use. It's like a crochet chained cast on, but I don't use a crochet hook. Okay, so you take your yarn, twist it and pull that through, and it creates a slip knot. You ignore this string. You want that kind of going down in the middle anyway, but we'll do that in a moment. Zoom in a bit so you can see this. So you've got your slip knot, which you'll notice it will kind of move. Take the working yarn, which is the yarn that's coming from the spool. Put it behind your first peg. And then pull it through that loop you made. I take this cast on string, put it down in the middle, and just forget it's there. Once it's long enough, you can just weave it in and cut it off. Okay, so you have a loop, and you have it hooked to that first peg. Take your loop, put it behind the next peg, pull the working yarn through. Take your loop, next peg, pull the working yarn through. Do this all the way around. When you get to your last peg, you just put the loop itself on that last peg and tighten it up. So go ahead and do your cast on. Around. As you can see, I put the loop on that last peg and just kind of pulled it tight. You can see they're not actually connected, but that's fine. Now for our cuff, the top of the cuff, we are going to do a garter stitch. So you will E-wrap one row, then you'll purl a row, then you'll E-wrap a row, then you'll purl a row. That's all we're doing, is just 4 rows of garter stitch. If you are unfamiliar with your E-wrap stitch, all you do is you wrap it around the peg, take the bottom loop over the top. You wrap your next peg, take the bottom loop over the top. You can do it one peg at a time, or you can wrap the whole loom and take the bottoms over the top. I do want to give you a couple tips here real quick. If you E-wrap one peg at a time, that will avoid what is called laddering. And laddering is where if you E-wrap the whole row, take the bottoms over the top, and you keep doing that with every row, you're going to end up with a line in your project where the tension isn't as even. So I have found that just doing one at a time works the best for me. And if you can notice, when I wrap it, I'm actually bringing the yarn up past that second peg, so I could take it over and it's already halfway done. That seems to cut down on a lot of time working on this. So go ahead, E-wrap one row, purl a row, E-wrap a row, purl a row. Then we will get working on the body of If you are unfamiliar with how to do a purl stitch, how you do a purl stitch is you take your loom tool down through the loop on the peg, hold the working yarn underneath the loop, and you pull it up through. That creates a new loop. You take the old loop off the peg and put the new loop on. Let me show you a couple more times. That is how you do a purl stitch. After this first 4 rows, this is what it's going to look like. Now from here, we're going to start on the body. First what we're going to do, all of our pegs that are marked will be E-wraps. The rest you're going to purl. So the first one will be E-wrap 1, purl 3, but then it's just going to be E-wrap 2, purl 3, until you get all the way around. You want to do 4 rows of this design. Then we will start doing the actual cables. Got your 4 rows done. Now we're actually to the point where we will start cabling. The cables we do only on the blue, the 2 pegs that are blue. So the yellow ones you're still going to E-wrap. The ones that aren't marked at all you're still going to purl. So let's get to our first set of blue. And I'll show you how to do a 2-stitch cable with a left twist, sorry. Let me zoom this in, and I'll try not to move. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to E-wrap your first peg, take the bottom loop over, and I'm talking the first of, this is peg 1, this is peg 2. What you're going to do at this point is take that off. If you have a stitch marker or something, you can mark it with the stitch marker, pull a big loop, and you're not going to have to worry about it. You're going to take, this right here is probably the scariest part, you're going to take the loop off of peg 2, and you're actually going to put that on peg 1. Just like that. And in that loop you just made, put that on peg 2. You'll E-wrap the peg, take the bottom over, and that is how you do the 2-stitch left twist cable. I'll get to the next one, I'll show you how to do it. I'm going to show you the cable one more time on the next set. What you do is you E-wrap the first peg, take that bottom over the top, take the loop off. I pull the loop out some just so it's long enough. I take the loop off peg 2, then put it on peg 1, take that loop, put it back on the empty peg, E-wrap, take the bottom over the top, pull on it just a little bit just to tighten it up, and then just keep going. And you do that every time. That's how you do the cables. You just got to remember, every time it's a row where you cable, you only do the cables on the pegs that are marked with the blue rubber bands. Now what I did was, if you do the cables, let me pull this one off and look. If you do the cables really close together, it's a little harder to really see a lot of the detail. So I like to do a row with the cables in it, and then do 4 regular rows where all the marked pegs are E-wrapped. The unmarked pegs are purled, just like we'd done for the cuff. Go ahead and make it as long as you would like. This one, when I took it off the loom, it measured about 6.5 inches long. So it's going to shrink down about 1/2 inch. So there, it's about 6 inches long now. This one I made a little longer. It was about 7 inches long when I took it off, and it's at about 6.5. Either size really will work just fine. You can use these as arm warmers too if you want, which those ones you might want to make a little shorter just for like the cuffs. So you go ahead and work this down until you have it the length that you want. And then you'll do your garter stitch again. So you'll do a row purl, E-wrap, purl, E-wrap, and then I'll show you how to do your cast off. The leg warmer is as long as I'd like for it to be, which I want to say there was 7 twists, so 7 cables in it for the full length before I did the ribbing at the top. That'll give you an idea of how long you want to make yours once you see this one. For our cast off, what I did is I took the working yarn, wrapped it around the loom 3 times, a lot of spinning, and then cut it. That just gives you enough to work this cast off. There are other cast offs that you can use, but my favorite is the chain cast off. So what you do is you hold your yarn over top the pegs. It's coming from this peg, so we're going to skip one, and we're going to pull the yarn up through the next. We're going to go back one and pull it down. That's what you're going to do all the way around. Which I'll work a couple more with you, just so you can see. There we go. See what I'm doing. The yarn is now coming from this peg, so we're skipping one, going up, going back one, and going down. Yarns from this one, so skip one, go up, go back one, and go down. Do that all the way around. Now for the last one, I went up through this one and down through that one and just left it like that. That way every single peg was actually worked 2 times, because when you go back one, you're double working a peg. Okay, now you take your loom tool and just pop the whole thing off the loom. At first it's going to look like you're going to have these big loops at the top here, but watch what happens once we take this whole thing off here and stretch it out. It will look almost identical to the other end. And then you just take your crochet hook and kind of weave your ends down and through on the inside, cut off the edges, and you're done. Sorry, move so that focuses. But see, now we can take and stretch the whole thing out. I like to do that. Take and stretch it, twist it around and stretch it pretty much every way you can, so it will, there we go, help even out any differences you may have had in your tension. And there we go, little leg warmer done. I am so excited. It's my first baby leg warmers. Like I said, weave in your ends, cut the strings, and you are done. Okay, thank you everybody so much for taking the time to watch my video. I do hope that all the directions were clear and you were able to understand it. If you do have any questions, my email is in the description below. Don't hesitate to send me an email. It might take me a day or so to reply, but if it's sent through email, I will get back to you. You can also leave comments and questions in the description below. But in all honesty, I get so many comments and questions and stuff on my videos. Some of them do get lost. It's not me purposely ignoring you. It's just, it's hard for me to keep up with it all. Again, thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.